Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel to get more content. We coming at you 2 times a week. Subscribe now.
Thursday night, you're going to be back on the broadcast, Amazon Prime. You guys got to click on the app and go check Richard out if you haven't already. Big game, the Miami Dolphins, Cincinnati Bengals. I hear since he's wearing all white with the white helmets, it's going to be a first for them. It'll look real nice. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on this game. And specifically, I want a prediction from you about who you think is going to win and what the score will be.
Mitchell. Cheetah. Called out Eli Apple. They had smoke at the end of last season in the AFC Championship game. There was legit smoke. There was smoke. I know something about smoke between receiver and DB. That was smoke. And he called him out just recently. He said, who we got this week? He said, Eli Apple. He said, oh, man, I'm here. He said, I'm here. And the difference between Cheetah and Miami and Cheetah and Kansas City is Kansas City, Andy Reid, it's not going to get too high. The enemy's not going to get involved in a personal match. They're not going to sit there and be like, hey, Cheetah, just run a bomb on him. We need to make a point. But Mike McDaniels and Tua, this is a different Tyreek. He making $30 million a year. They give him one bomb if he asks for it. Yeah. And so I would expect them to try Eli Apple a few times in that game. If he stands up, it'll be great for him. It'll be great. If he does not, it's going to be an interesting post game with the Cheetah. And I'm going to be there for it. I'm going to tell him to bring him to the stage. Bring him to the stage because I got some questions to ask.
Oh, Richard, I wish I were a Miami Dolphin fan, man, because that team, between that coach and then the players they brought in this offseason, they're a fun team to watch, and I think you're spot on. I mean, you don't want to get the Cheetah angry because he's got one thing that everyone else in the league doesn't have, that top end speed. And all he's got to do is get behind you once. Tell me who you think's got an edge in this game and who's going to take it home.
Well, I think Miami's defense is going to be tired. I feel like they played 90 plays against Buffalo. That's a tough game for anybody. Their offense only played 39, so they should be in the fresh legs program. They're going to be enjoying themselves. Yep. It's not going to be as hot as it was in Miami, so everybody will be a little fresher in that regard. Can that Cincinnati offensive line hold up? They did a good job against the Jets last week. Can they do it again? Lyle Collins, the new bodyguard, said he wouldn't get touched. He got touched early on, but he had a good game last week. But I got Miami winning this game. I think Miami's a real deal. I think they played a really good Buffalo team in a hard way, in a hard environment. They only had the ball for 19 minutes and still pulled out a win. That says a lot about their defense and that their offense, even though they struggled in the game, they did enough to win. I think that Miami has the secondary to deal with Burrows and these Bengals receivers, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and the boys. I got Miami winning. I got Miami winning in a good game similar to the game they just played. It'd be 21-17, something to that respect, maybe 24-21. If they get the late touchdown and field goals get involved.
Rich, if they do that in Cincinnati, you know darn well there's going to be a lot of people talking Super Bowl aspirations down in Miami. So it's getting to that point of the week, Rich. I always tell you, I'm going to ask you couple of the same questions every week. And this week, I'm going to ask the exact same question. Richard, what is your top 5 power rankings for this week?
Well, this week, I thought my number 1 would change. I thought about it long, and I thought about it hard. And I said, it's not going to change this week. I still got the Buffalo Bills. They lost to the Miami Dolphins. They did. They looked like the better team. They were the better team. They still lost the game. And had the ball for 40 minutes of the game. Threw for 400 yards. Had about 500 and something yards of offense. Defense played solid. Gave us some explosives at the end. But it didn't do enough to shake me off of that foundation. But it did do enough to give the Miami Dolphins the number 2 spot. It moves them up into the number 2 spot because their defense survived 90 plays. Now, they gave up yards. They bend, but don't break. They found a way to get stops in the red zone. They found a way to do what they need to do to get the W. Number 3, Philadelphia fans is jumping all over the place. They really wanted their Eagles in it. I had to finally put them in it, Mitchell. The Philadelphia Eagles made it to number 3. You made it. You got a great D-line, a great O-line. Hurts is playing like an MVP candidate if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is the MVP right now of the league. But Jalen Hurts looks really good. Devontae Smith had a great game, always open. A.J. Brown was out there cooking. Dallas Goedert.
Big play.
Come on now. Big play. You got to mention big play. You can't mention the Eagles without mentioning big play Slay and his all-pro bid that he's going for, and he's showing it week in and week out. The D-line, 9 sacks of Carson Wentz. Like, good night. Y'all were not playing around. He not staying around. Number 4, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost a nail-biter to the Green Bay Packers, but did not do enough to shake me off the foundation. I am concerned, again, about their offensive line, but they're getting healthier as we speak. Mike Evans is coming off suspension. I think he would have made a difference in that ball game. I think Julio Jones would have made a difference. I think Chris Godwin, and I think if they play again in January, all those pieces will be there. It'll be a different game. Number 5, Kansas City Chiefs lost the game. I do not think they should have lost to the Colts. They showed some weaknesses. They showed some things that against the Chargers that the Colts were able to exploit. Good job for Matt Ryan and the boys. Stephon Gilmore showing that he can still get the job done, making huge plays. Shadowing Travis Kelce. Those are my top 5. Argue with yourself about it.
I think Rams fans are going to be pissed that you put them in, not them in, but put the Bucs in. But I get you, Rich. I'm going to call a little bit of a homer bias with the Bucs, but I get it. They're not healthy, but they're going to get healthy at the right time, unlike some other teams that are just getting.
They got Tom.
That automatically gets you in the top 5. All right, Rich. The next component of these same questions every week is who disappointed you? Give me a couple names of guys or coaches or teams that disappointed you and let you down this week.
The offensive line for the Niners, it was tough. It was tough sledding for Jimmy. I guess you could throw Jimmy in there as well. He had some poor decision-making and things of that nature that I expected better from, I guess, Andy Reid. Andy Reid, I just, he's one of those guys. He's held to a high standard and always has his team ready. There's rarely ever a game like this where you're like, man, they lost to a team they should not have lost to. They were unprepared for the game. They had some miscues at the half. They just had some uncharacteristic mistakes that you don't expect from the Kansas City Chiefs ever. What happened to the Saints? The Saints as a team, they lost to Carolina. Give Carolina a lot of credit, but the Saints have been in a couple games that have just been head scratchers where you're like you're too talented of a team and too talented of a defense to be losing to the Carolina Panthers. And no offense to the Carolina Panthers, they won the game. They went out there and beat them, but they're too talented of a secondary. Their front is really good. The receiving core is really good. Offensive line is solid. So you're just scratching your head like, what's going on there?
Richard, I got to add one. I mean, I've got to jump in here. As a Detroit fan, I always got to get my plug, whether good or bad. My disappointment of the week, and I'm going to hedge this by saying I'm a major supporter of him and what he's done to this team and the cultural shift he's bringing along here. But it's Coach Dan Campbell. He preaches this grittiness, take him out to the abyss and drown your opponent. Always aggressive, always going for the kill, foot on the throat. And then he kicks a 54-yard field goal to go not up 2 scores, but merely from up 3 to up 6 when the Minnesota Vikings had no timeout. To me, I think that he needs to find his identity and stick with it. To me, I think that is a major coaching mistake, and it's something that I think his inexperience with being a head coach was shown. And it's something he needs to learn from his mistakes and just get better and stay with who you are. Stay true to yourself. You know what I mean? So for me, that is my one add-on dud of the week.
You're not wrong. You got to be all in, or you got to be all out. And he's been all in the entire time. His team would have believed in that. He would have been able to justify. If
they would have been in the top 5 of your power rankings, Rich, and I would have been thrilled, man.
Right. They would have been like 5E or so.
All right, Rich. MVP, offensive MVP thus far.
Offensive MVP is Lamar Jackson. There's no question about it. He's had 3 games of 3 touchdowns, back-to-back games of 3 passing touchdowns and 100 yards rushing. I mean, he's the first quarterback to do that. He's been doing everything. He accounts for probably 80% of the offense in Baltimore. And you know what he's going to account for if they keep playing? 80% of the cap. They should have paid him.
Richard, he's going to be expensive.
It's going to be expensive, Mitchell. Defensive MVP is still Nicholas John Bosa for me. I'm not getting off that train, but Micah Parsons is making me, making me look. He's making me look. And DeMarcus Lawrence had 3 sacks in that game. He not making headlines about it, but he had 3 sacks in that game. And Micah Parsons creating problems for everybody. But still, Nick Bosa for me.